Hello, everyone, and welcome to Confessions of a Diet Queen podcast with me, Leanne, aka Lean with Leanne, episode 3 of the 2022 podcast. Here we go. I am actually flying solo today, which makes me a little bit nervous, but I do not have a special guest to interview. I wanted to come on this week to discuss a little bit more in depth about slimming clubs. The good, the bad, the ugly, my opinion, my experience. And I thought it'd be really good to do it via podcast so that you can get a little more of a deeper insight into the experience I've had with them. I just want to start with a disclaimer, like I normally do, in that I 100% commend anybody that has made the choice to change their life, whether that's joining a slimming club, joining a gym. If you are actively taking positive steps in improving your fitness, losing weight, meeting people that are on the same journey as you, then you should be 100% commended, and I give you a virtual high five. I have had my own experience with slimming clubs for many, many years. And I've had both positive and negative things that have actually made me a better coach. So I'm going to explain a little bit about that and a bit about my thought process. So I joined a slimming club. We won't name names for legal purposes. I joined a slimming club when I was 16 years old. Now, I remember I really wanted to lose weight. I lived in a small town called Kingsbridge, and there wasn't really a lot of information at the time on how I could lose weight. Now, there was a gym, a leisure centre, very, very small gym, which only had a couple of instructors, really, not really personal trainers. I was also absolutely mortified and shit scared of the gym. So there was no way I was going to be walking into the gym and asking for help. I was also, in a bad place, humiliated by how I looked and my weight. So just going into the leisure centre was just something that wasn't going to happen when I was 16. I was still at school. I think I must have been at that age. It's got to be year 10 or 11 or something like that. We didn't have a school gym at KCC. We did PE, but I actually hated it. It gave me anxiety. So we had like old school PE. So we would do, oh my God, when they pull out in the gym hall, like the monkey bars and the ropes and stuff. We had like that sort of gym. And then we had team sports, which again, I absolutely hated because I was just overweight and I was unfit. And I just was always the slowest, always couldn't run the 800 meters. I was always embarrassed to get into my swimsuit to go swimming. Like PE was hell on earth for me. I did a few team sports that I enjoyed, like rounders, hockey, and I played in the teams, weirdly enough, but nothing. I was definitely not a sporty person. So yeah, going to the leisure centre or asking a fitness professional for help was not an option. And I had begun wanting to change my life, and I remember I was working at, I think at the time it was Summerfield when I was 16, and a few of the girls there were saying, there's a slimming club up the road, we go on a Wednesday night, or you can go on a Tuesday morning, I think. Why don't you come with us? So that's how that began. And I went to the first meeting and I stood on the scales, and I remember it was like the worst thing ever. I remember crying in front of everyone. And everybody there was so lovely, don't get me wrong. All the women there were just so lush. Actually, a few men went as well. And you get your little starter pack and your little starter folder and your guides and your recipe cards. And you sit in your meeting and you listen to what they say and off you go. And you start with whatever program you were. So I was counting points, which has a fair few similarities to counting calories, minus the science. But off I went, and I was on a mission, and I went to meetings every week. And as most of you who have ever done a slimming club will know, you kind of all gather in the reception, you're lining up to see, there's usually two women, 2 sets of scales, and you're all biting your nails in the queue. I hope I've lost weight this week, or I've not eaten yet today, blah, 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 blah. On the scales you get, has it gone down? Has it gone up? Has it stayed the same? You get your cards, they write it down on the card, and then you sit down, you do your meeting, and then you repeat for another week. And that was the start of my Slimming Club journey. And it worked. Do you know what I mean? Like, it actually worked. I remember losing a lot of weight through a Slimming Club. I remember getting rewarded every time I lost weight. I remember getting my half stone sticker. I remember getting my 1 stone sticker. I remember being Slimmer of the Week a couple of times. And at the time, as a 16-year-old, I felt like I'd found an environment that was helping me achieve my goals. And that kind of, I dipped in and out of Slimming Clubs from 16 all the way up to sort of like my 20s, 21. And I think what happened for me was when I turned 18 and my social life started to change a little bit, that's when it kind of went on the back burner, and I started, going to Fusion at the weekend, binge drinking and having fun and just doing what a teenager does. And I didn't go to a Slimming Club for a while. I obviously regained all the weight back. I remember my 21st birthday, maybe my 22nd. I remember me and my friends, we went out on a night out, and we had this thing. I don't know what it was about people in Kingsbridge, but we always had this thing whenever there was a special occasion, fancy dress. And me and my friends used to go hard or go home with it. So we always used to do like Moulin Rouge, because we literally thought we were the Pussycat Dolls of Kingsbridge at the time. And we used to do like gangsters, we did football players, and this is what we did for my 22nd birthday. And I had all the guys around my house, we dressed up, we had hot pants on, vest tops, and we always used to get those iron on paper where you used to like print off your name and your birthday, iron it onto like a peacock's vest, and you'd go out with like this t-shirt that you'd made on. And we went out as football players. We had whistles round our neck, like these $2.99 vests, hot pants, football socks up to our knees, and high heels, and our hair done. And I literally thought I was Michelle Keegan, right? And I look at the pictures now and I say to my friends, like, and I'm going to name names, Kim, Emma, Sophie, my besties, right? Why did you let me go out like that? I thought I was Michelle Keegan. Try Michelle McManus from like Pop Idol. I thought I was Gwen Stefani. I had white blonde hair with jet black. Look at these eyebrows. These are my eyebrows. Natural colour. Jet black eyebrows and red lipstick. I was about a size 18 to 20 in hot pants and high heels, strutting around the social club. And I look back now and I've got to laugh at it, because, I mean, who told me I look good? Like, why did you do that to me? You terrible friends. But I remember seeing those photos and thinking, oh my God, I've got to get my butt back to the Slimming Club. And that's when I started going back. And I remember this really vividly. It was always a Wednesday morning, because Wednesday morning, I chose to go on a Wednesday morning to the Slimming Club because I thought, right, if I go on a Tuesday night, I'm going to have all of the food in my stomach from that day. If I go on a Wednesday morning, I've slept, I won't eat, I'll go straight to the Slimming Club, and then when I get on the scales, I'll definitely be lighter than if I'd eaten all day and gone on a Tuesday night. And that probably should have been the first red flag that sort of came to me about the fact that maybe going to a Slimming Club was not having the most positive effect on me, on my relationship with food, on the relationship with my body, relationship with the scales. And again, disclaimer alert, I just want to say there are so many people that go to those clubs and do not have the issues that I have, that maybe completely are successful and get great results and see it for what it is, and that is absolutely perfect. And to be fair, the issues that I have had with food and body image and exercise, etc., they probably would have been there regardless of whether I went to a Slimming Club. However, I do believe and know that the structure, the formula, the whole format of slimming clubs heightened my problems and probably gave me a few more. Like I said, that does not happen to everyone, but I just want to make this podcast to just make people aware and maybe see the connection with maybe some old mindset thought processes they have that have probably come from years of being in that environment. Now, like I said, slimming clubs are a positive place. I am all about building a community of people who support each other in moving forward with their goals. And if weight loss is the goal, then being in a community of people that are all on plan and doing the same thing is so powerful. It's literally why I built the Lean with Leanne business community. You know, all my girls in my group support each other when they have low days. They are there, they are accountable to each other, and it is so powerful and so motivating. And a slimming club does give you that. Okay, you are lining up with women and men who are all trying to lose weight, who are all on the same plan and can help motivate each other. My main issue is the science behind the program. Okay, now there are a few slimming clubs out there, and they all offer different plans. And I think even the most popular ones have changed over the years. Now, when I was younger, I remember there was 2 slimming clubs in my town. I went to one, and the other one had red days and green days, whereas we were on a points basis where you had a certain amount of points you could have per day, and you would count those points, sort of like calorie tracking, but not quite the same. Whereas this other club was like red days and green days, and there was like free foods and sins, which I will come into why I actually hate that word as well when it comes to food. And I remember someone explaining it to me, and I was like flabbergasted, because there was like, on a green day, they could eat as much potato as they wanted. And I was like, what? That is heaven. I am just going to eat chips all day. And I just remember thinking, like, how does this work? How can you eat chips all day? Like home cooked chips, mashed potato. Like, think how many ways you can eat potato: mashed potato, roast potato, chips, dauphinoise potato. Or like, I would just be a potato by the end of the day if I was able to eat potato all day on my plan. And I was just like, I don't understand how it works, but I am actually here for it. And now I'm a personal trainer, and I am qualified in nutrition. I'm qualified in physiology and anatomy, and I've learnt so much about calorie balance and macronutrients. I just think, how is this a thing? How does this work? How are people losing weight eating as much potato as they want? It just blows my mind. But I'm pretty sure that slimming club has now changed, and it now operates on a sins basis, I think. So here's one particular issue I have. Nobody is fooled by the fact they spell the word sin differently. You are still implying that it is a sin, okay? That's pretty powerful words to put on any food. And my opinion on that is that it creates a thought process that certain food is a sin. It is bad. It is evil. It is something you should not indulge in. And that can have a knock-on effect on many, many things, including relationships with food, feelings of guilt and shame if you eat a food that is a sin. And that can lead to lots and lots of problems further down the line. Now, like I said before, some people are okay with the plan. They can crack on with the plan. They see it for what it is. But if you are somebody like me who is joining a slimming club because you want to change the way you look, because you have negative feelings about yourself, body image issues, because you do not feel worthy as a human being because you are overweight or you want to lose weight, then surrounding yourself in an environment that is labeling food as a sin is not going to end up having a positive effect on you. And it didn't have a positive effect on me. So that is one of the reasons why I am a little bit dubious about certain elements of slimming clubs. The other thing that had a powerful effect on me in a negative way from being on a slimming club for so many years is that the plan I was on is low fat, okay? And it has been low fat since I think it actually ever came out. And the plan basically is based on points, and low fat food has lower points than high fat food. Now, in terms of calories, I understand why that would make sense, because if you know about macronutrients, aka food groups, fats have the highest amount of calories per gram out of all three macronutrients. So it would make sense that there are more points within high fat foods. However, it doesn't make sense when high sugar foods on that plan have lower points. Okay, so from a calorie perspective, the plan makes 0 sense. So I can, for example, tell you that if you eat a banana, it has a certain amount of points. If you mash that banana up, the point content changes. So it has more points. That doesn't make any sense to me, because the calorie content of a banana is the calorie content of a banana, whether you mash it up, whether you chop it up, whether you eat it whole. The calories are the same. So I'm not sure what the thought process is here, but that is giving me a thought process that is completely not based on science and gives me a pretty fucked up vision of food in general. There are other instances, for example, despite the calorie content, you could have 3 cans of Strongbow dark fruit cider for 0 points, yet if I eat half an avocado, it's like 40 points. So from a health perspective, it makes 0 sense, because that plan there is giving me the message that sinking 3 cans of cider is better for me than eating half an avocado. And that is complete bullshit. It, again, makes 0 sense. But when you are in the environment, when you are so desperate to lose weight, when it is working, then you are going to take that as gospel. You're going to take it as like, this is right. This is what I can do. This is what I'm going to do. And it's plans like that have given me really warped vision on food, and really like weird perceptions on good and bad and healthy and unhealthy. Because at the time I was quite young, I didn't know anything about food. They don't teach you this in school. They don't teach you about protein and carbohydrates and fats and why they're all extremely important just to function as a normal human being. And instead, I was basing everything I knew about food and drink on a plan that is not based on calories. It's not based on the goodness of food, but it's based on this really odd structure of dieting that does kind of work, but is also, it doesn't really make sense. So when I'm in this slimming club, I'm not told anything about protein and its benefits. I'm not told anything about carbohydrates, and I'm not told anything about fats. In fact, I'm pretty much made to feel like fats should not be in my diet. And as a female, that is detrimental to your health. Fats are the material our body uses to create hormones. So our body will digest fats and turn them into hormones. And hormones play a part in every single body function we have, especially as women. Women change, their hormone cycle changes every week. They experience ridiculous changes in estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, cortisol, all hormones that have a dramatic impact on mood, on emotions, on energy levels, mental clarity, all of these things that are affected by hormones. So you imagine what is going to happen after a long period of time on a low fat diet. Okay, it's like trying to drive a car with no petrol in it. Your body is going to be struggling because it's not getting the fuel it needs to create hormones. And then if you spend years and years and years on low fat diet, you are potentially setting yourself up for issues with your menstrual cycle, perimenopause, issues when you do reach that age when your hormone cycle is changing and you're going through the change, issues with fertility. Now, I'm not telling you that if you have been on a slimming club diet that you're not going to be able to get pregnant or these things will happen. I'm just saying that the lack of education on food groups that is within a slimming club could potentially have a detrimental effect on your health further down the line. And I am someone who has had experience with this because I was on a slimming club, from in and out of slimming clubs from 16 to 25. That's 9 years in a time where my body is still growing, in a time where my hormones are going to be changing from me being a young person into a woman. And I reached a point where my hormones were completely messed up and I couldn't lose weight no matter what I did. My mental health was absolutely in the gutter, and I had a blood test, a very, very in-depth blood test, and a few of my hormones were out. And that was probably a large part down to the fact that I hadn't included fats in my diet for a very, very long time. You know, I was eating Muller Lights until they came out of my eyes. I was eating go-ahead bars and all of this high sugar food. But God forbid I should even look at an avocado, because an avocado is like 3 million points and I can't eat that. It's the devil food. So you can see how all of these things can have a detrimental impact on the way you think about food and the feelings you have towards food. Now, if I told you, yes, an avocado may be higher in calories than a different option, but it's one of the most healthiest things you can ever eat. It has so many healthy fats that are so good for so many different reasons. So why is something that is claiming to be a healthy diet telling me that it's better to drink 3 cans of Strongbow cider than it is to eat half an avocado? It makes no sense. I remember being so bothered by the amount of points that were in fats that I would split eggs. Like, I never ate an egg yolk. I was eating egg whites all the time. An egg yolk is so friggin' good for you, man. Like, don't split an egg. Ever. All right? But I was being made to count these points and think, oh my goodness, like if I want to be able to eat more food, I'm going to have to cut this out. But it's okay because I can eat 3 curly whirlies today because that's a free food. Like, you know, logically, when you look at it, it just doesn't make sense. And I'll probably say that a million times in this podcast. When I look back now on how many years I spent following the plan, it just doesn't make any sense to me at all. The other thing, and probably the main issue that I have had, and I have had to work so hard on changing my thought process and like feelings of guilt and shame and how I internalize, you know, negativity about this, I've had to work so hard on, is the whole system of measuring progress within a slimming club. Now, I just remember we all used to stand in the queue and everyone would be so nervous and everyone's biting their nails and worried, like, I've not, you know, I remember we used to joke about the fact that we would literally sit on the toilet on a Tuesday morning and try and force a poo out to the point that it would give you like piles. Like, I know that's gross, but we used to joke about it in the queue. Have you had a poo? Have you had a poo? Quick, go and have another wee because it weighs on the scales. Like, that is so fucked up. That is so fucked up when I say that out loud now. But I used to set my alarm on a Tuesday morning so that I could get up, walk around and have time to kind of force my body to have a poo, because I didn't want the scales to show an extra pound in case I hadn't pooed out my dinner. Like, it's insane to me. It's insane. And we all used to joke about this. We used to say, oh, quick, have a wee. I would starve myself on a Tuesday morning. I would not eat. I wouldn't even drink a sip of water until after I had got on the scales. And there was never, ever any type of education in weight fluctuation. Despite the fact I then at this point was exercising regularly, weight training through like Body Pump and doing regular exercise, not one person ever said anything to me about muscle tissue and changes in aesthetics rather than body weight. Nobody ever said anything to me about weight fluctuations around your menstrual cycle. No one talked about how salt intake can affect your body weight, how carbohydrates affect water retention, which will affect your body weight. I was consumed as much as everyone else in that club on the fact that I would have only succeeded that week if I stood on the scales and the scales had gone down. And I remember you have a goal weight. This is your goal weight, which is something I think is complete BS, by the way, as of now. Like, I am not down with a goal weight, with there being a specific number that humans measure their success on, because weight fluctuates on the daily. Life happens. You know, I can weigh myself now and weigh myself in 3 hours, and I'll weigh two totally different amounts. But when you go to these clubs, based on your height and BMI, and that's another podcast for me to rant on, the person comes up with this goal weight. Once I had reached my goal weight, there was no discussion about maintenance. There was no discussion about, right, you need to increase your points or this is what you're going to do. It was just keep calm and carry on. And I still had ingrained in me from all of those weekly meetings, I need to lose weight. I need to lose weight. If I stand on these scales and there's 20 women behind me all like peeking over to see if I've lost weight, I'm going to feel like a shitty human being if it's gone up. I'm going to be mortified. I'm going to be embarrassed. If somebody stood in front of me who's writing on a card how much I weigh says, oh, it's gone down. It's not gone down this week. What happened? You know, that's embarrassing. And that shit affects your body image. It affects your relationship with the scales. It makes your mindset and your internal dialogue become, I need to lose weight to be worthy. I need to lose weight to be accepted. I need to lose weight to be successful. There was absolutely no conversation ever in any meeting about, let's change the goalpost. Let's think about getting stronger. Let's think about getting fitter. Let's achieve something that is non-scale related. Let's work on your mental health and why you think being a certain weight is going to make you happy. Let's peel back the layers and discuss what's really going on here. There was none of that. And that is what people really need when they're struggling with their weight, because I didn't get overweight because I was happy. Do you know what I mean? I didn't binge eat because I was happy. I'm just doing things that I have learned as coping strategies for the fact that I'm actually grossly unhappy, or I cannot cope with stress, or I cannot cope with fatigue. That is what binge eating is. That is what being overweight is. It's somebody being unhappy and using food as a comfort because they don't know how else to deal with stress, anxiety, past trauma, upset. But none of that is addressed in a slimming club. All that is the focus is lose weight, lose weight, lose weight, lose weight. And I want to tell you a really shocking but funny story. I won Slimmer of the Week one week, right? This is legitimately the truth, and I've heard this from a few other people before. I won Slimmer of the Week. Slimmer of the Week, you weigh, you register how much weight you've lost, and then you all sit in your little circle, and the group leader goes to the front and does any announcements. The announcements usually being that, oh, actually, a Muller Lite is now not 1 point, it's half a point or whatever, when they decide to change their point process based on whatever new product they've got coming out, so that you buy that instead of the supermarket own brand. But you sit in your circle, the leader goes up, and they announce Slimmer of the Week. And Slimmer of the Week is the person that's lost the most weight. Now, at this point, I had already reached my goal weight, so I probably, as a 19-year-old, should have been told, right, you're there now. And at this point I was thin. I was quite thin. I think I must have been weighing like close to 9 stone 3. And bearing in mind, at this present moment, I'm a stone and a half heavier than that, and the strongest and most toned I've ever been in my life. Like, at that point I was quite thin and zero muscle, zero strength. I wasn't particularly healthy. And I was announced as Slimmer of the Week in front of everyone. You have to go up, you collect a little badge, like being at school. Everyone claps, oh, well done, well done, well done, well done. While secretly sat there thinking, bitch, like, do you know what I mean? And I won Slimmer of the Week because I'd lost 6 pounds that week. Now, 6 pounds in a week, Jesus, that's not right, especially for someone who's already at their decided goal weight. I had 48 hours before that meeting the most awful stomach bug I had ever had, right? Sickness, diarrhea. I hadn't eaten for 2 days, and I had told the group leader this. I'd said, I've had a really bad bug. I've not been able to eat for 2 days. Like, it's going to have gone down, but it's because I've had a bug. And I got called up to be Slimmer of the Week. Please tell me how that is acceptable. Because, like, that is, to me, a 19-year-old girl who's struggling with body image and weight. That is glorifying to me that losing weight is the ultimate progress, despite the fact I've already reached my goal weight, despite the fact I've just told this person that I had a 48-hour stomach bug and I've been, throwing up every hour. I still got celebrated for losing weight. And that is the sort of thing that has had a negative, detrimental impact on some of the mental health aspects that I have when it comes to weight loss and, other areas of my life, like body image. That, to me, is shocking. Now, that's nothing against the person in question. They are merely following a procedure, following a structure. But, that sort of shit is crazy when it comes to slimming clubs. I should never have been called out to the front. That should never have been celebrated. It should have been okay, we know why you've dropped this week, but, try and get some healthy food in and try and rebuild yourself back up. But that never happened. And that's when things started to get bad for me, because I became consumed by this whole getting on the scales and having to have lost weight. Getting on the scales and being, celebrated. At school was tough for me. I was bullied for my weight. So to find myself in a group of people that celebrated me for losing weight, it kind of felt addictive. It kind of felt like, oh my God, they like me because I'm losing weight. Everybody cheers me on, everybody's supporting me. And it was nice. It was nice to have a group of people being nice to me instead of, chastising me for my weight. So that became the obsession for me. And then things got really, really bad. And that's when I started having the issues with bulimia. And I started to take laxatives before the day before weigh day, because I always had a day off the day before. So I would say to myself, well, ideal. If I take a couple of laxatives throughout the day on the day before I go to the slimming club, I'm at home. It's my day off. It's not like I'm going to get caught short. I would essentially flush out my system to get on the scales the next day to guarantee the fact that I'd lost weight. And don't get it twisted. I had scales at home. Like, I was getting on the scales before I got on the scales at the slimming club, because I'm not going if I know my weight's not changed. I don't want to stand there and get on the scales and for people not to celebrate that I've lost weight. It became like this addictive thing where I wanted praise all the time. I wanted, oh yeah, another 2 pounds down, another 3 pounds down, amazing. It's positive. That shit's addictive when people are telling you look good. But what you don't realise is actually it's really, really unhealthy at a certain point, And yeah, unfortunately, it led me down a path where I was indulging in some pretty unhealthy habits. Now, I'm not blaming the slimming club in question for me struggling with an eating disorder. That is something that could have materialized anyway. However, there were situations I found myself in, environments and thought processes that were a result of regularly going to a slimming club that had a knock-on effect. The whole binge eating thing, that was something within these groups that was kind of promoted. Like, when I look back on it, and I've done lots of research into binge eating now on the psychological aspects of it. One of the main reasons why I have decided to qualify as a counsellor is because I'm so interested through my own therapy about the fact that binge eating is never about the food. It's more about you're trying to cope with something else, you're trying to suppress something else. But it is just a fact that if you go to a slimming club, there is kind of like this secret binge eating protocol of, we would weigh on whatever day, and then everybody would see each other in the fish and chip shop that day. Because we all had this thought process of, I'm going to weigh today and then I can eat what I want today because then I've got a whole week to lose it. and everyone would binge eat on the day they weighed. If it was an evening weigh, which was when I first started going, it was a Wednesday night, we'd all queue up, and while we were queuing up to get weighed, we'd be laughing about which takeaway in Kingsbridge we were going to that night. And then I'd go to the kebab shop to get my combo too, and everyone would be in there, and the fish and chip shop was next door, and if we weren't in there, we were in the fish and chip shop. You know, I remember there must have been 4 or 5 of us going to the Slimming Club from Morrison's on the Tuesday morning, and if we were working that day, we would not eat anything for the first part of our shift. We would have our 15-minute break where we'd run, get weighed, run back to the canteen, and Brenda, the canteen lady, would have fry-ups waiting for us. And I'd eat a fry-up plus a Snickers, and then at lunch I'd go down to the bakery, have pasty. Like, you would eat whatever you wanted that day, as much of it as you could, because the thought process was, I've now got a week and I'll drop it. That is essentially binge eating, and we used to do it in groups, man. So, you know, that on its own is condoning and accepting and, you know, kind of portraying binge eating in a group mentality. And, you know, if you've been in that environment for a long time, it's no wonder you're going to still struggle to be in that cycle when you come away from it, because it's just how you've been living for a long, long period of time. The other thing is leaders, Slimming Club leaders. Now, please don't take this personally. Like I say, I fully condone anyone that is running a group and wants to help people, that I am all about that. But here's my issue with it. 0 qualifications, okay? Usually the leader of a Slimming Club is somebody who's done the Slimming Club for years, lost loads of weight, and is now just running the Slimming Club. But they have no qualification in physiology and anatomy, no qualification in nutrition. They certainly do not have any qualifications in mental health, communication, human psychology. And those all play a massive part when someone is on a weight loss journey. Because like I said, people aren't overweight because they're happy. People are overweight because they are suppressing emotions that they can't deal with, or because they do not have any type of knowledge and understanding on nutrition and how to live a healthy, balanced life. So if I'm then going to a club where the person leading the club doesn't know either, I'm probably not going to get the support and the help I need for sustainable change. And that I have a real issue with, because I always, as a coach, want to better myself. I have experience. Okay, that's one box ticked. I know, I have empathy. I know how people feel. I know what it feels like to be grossly unhappy in yourself, and I still struggle with that now. I know what it feels like to feel like you're trying everything and getting nowhere. I know what it feels like to have an inability to deal with stress and anxiety and trauma, and to use food to try and give you temporary comfort. I know what it's like to shove your head down the toilet and make yourself sick, whether you've eaten chocolate, whether you've eaten a roast dinner, whether you've eaten salad. Like, I've been there. I've done it. I know how it feels. But the most important thing for me as a coach is that I know the science behind what I'm telling you. You know, when I have my girls on my plan, I am telling them every aspect of weight loss. You need to know why it's important to move daily. You need to know what a calorie deficit is, because a calorie deficit is the only way you're going to lose weight. Nobody told me what a calorie deficit was at a Slimming Club. I don't even think they know what that means. Okay, I was never even told what a calorie is. It's sins, points, red days, green days. Like, none of it is educational at all. There's nothing about health. There's nothing about food groups. There's nothing about hormones. There's nothing about weight fluctuation. There's nothing about, is this sustainable? It's a phenomenal business model, but it is a shit lifestyle. Okay, and that is my main opinion of it and experience with it. As a business model, it is win-win, because yes, for some odd reason, the plan does work. Despite all the negative things that I've experienced with it, the plan does work if you're on it. And if you're on it, what does that mean? You have to keep paying your weekly bill. You have to keep going to your weekly meeting. So as a business model, it's absolute perfection. As an educational process, it's bullshit. As a mental health support system, okay, you might make friends, but it doesn't really offer anything. I mean, I've not been for years. Maybe it's a little bit different, but for me, it didn't. And in terms of the people that run them, there's no qualification needed. There's no sort of training necessary. I'm guessing the businesses have some sort of training protocol for how to run a meeting, etc. But there's no, for me to be a personal trainer, I have to do a physiology and anatomy exam. I have to do a practical exam, taking somebody through a workout. I have to do a nutrition exam. I have to show that I know the basics of all of those things before I am allowed to go into a gym and advise someone how to exercise and eat for their goals. If you go to a slimming club, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that to be the leader of a slimming club. And that doesn't particularly sit well with me. So I think I've maybe slated them enough. But like I said, and I will keep saying it, if they work for you, if they are not having a negative impact on the way you think about food, the way you think about yourself, if you are somebody who can get on the scales and see the number for what it is, and it doesn't affect your mood and it doesn't affect your mental health, then I would always commend you for taking positive steps and trying to lose weight. I made some lifelong friends at slimming groups. I mean, the majority of people I went to slimming clubs with now are in my Lean with Leanne group, which is very nice because we share that experience and we can laugh about it now that they are all, well clued up on nutrition, flexible nutrition, on exercising for their goals, on building sustainable routines into their lifestyle, no matter whether they work or they don't, or they have kids or they don't. Then we can all, sit back and laugh at it now. And that's why I make those funny videos of Linda, telling off her club participants when they get on the scales and they've been mashing up bananas. But I would just encourage people to really reflect on one of the, whatever reasons they have for wanting to lose weight. Reflect on their experiences with the scales and food. And if you can see that there are some issues that you experience, there are negative emotions that you experience around food, around exercise, around your body image, around the weight on the scales, then my plea is to say, invest in a coach, do not invest in a club. Because like me, whilst the plan worked, it gave me a boatload of issues that I had to try and really work hard to undo. And I've been in therapy now for over a year. And I can now say that I have done 12 months relapse free with my bulimia, which is amazing. I'm really proud of myself for that. But that was a lot of hard work and a lot of resetting my mindset. And hey, listen, I still get on the scales. And if it doesn't move sometimes, it affects my mood. But I can get on the scales and look at the number, okay? When I first joined Winners 2000, which was literally just out of a slimming club, and I was trying to improve my physique, and I was not knowledgeable in strength training and nutrition, etc., because my whole education on food had come from a slimming club. I couldn't even look at the number on the scale, because if it didn't read back as the lowest number that it had read back in the slimming club, you can ask my old manager, John, it was meltdown city. That would be me. I'd be a write-off for a week. I'd be crying. I'd be so down, so low, that in the end, we made the decision, look, I'll monitor your weight, but you're not looking at it. I'm not telling you. I'm just going to tell you if it's gone down or if it stayed the same. But the number, you can't even look at it. And now I'm in a place where I can look at the number. I can appreciate I'm heavier. I'm more than a stone heavier than what I was when I was in the slimming club. And that's okay. Before, that would not be okay. That would definitely screw me up mentally. But now I know that I'm strong. I know that I look different. I'm not skinny. I am athletic. I've got shoulders. I've got an ass. I've got quads. I've got hamstrings. But I know my body can do what it couldn't do back then. It can run half marathons. It can squat 80 kilos. It can do pull-ups. Things that make me feel proud from a performance perspective, rather than oh, you've lost 6 pounds today, Leanne. Amazing, because, you were shitting yourself 2 days ago. So well done, well done. There is something so rewarding with being able to just get on the scales, to know, okay, it's gone up a couple of pounds, but it's probably because I had a couple of cocktails on Saturday. So I know the reason why. I'm going to pull it back, or I've been on it this week, that's why it's gone down. Or to be able to say to yourself, well, I'm due on my period in 2 days, so probably the weight's not going to budge, but that's okay. There is something really empowering in being able to do that. And being in a slimming club doesn't allow you the freedom and doesn't allow you the ability to accept that those things are going to be very real and are going to happen and are going to affect the weight on the scales. And that is my story of slimming clubs. Yeah, so I think pretty much 9 years I was in and out of them. And I remember go-ahead bars being like the holy grail. And when I look at a go-ahead bar now and I look at the calorie content and the sugar content, I think, crikey, like I was eating those things like they were going out of fashion, man. And when I look at one of the educational things we look at in the Lean with Leanne 8-week challenge and in the membership is kind of like marketing, food marketing. And, everybody at the moment's jumping on the protein bandwagon. But like, I remember when I was doing slimming clubs and I would eat, I kind of had this fear of food, and I would eat just the branded products, which took my shopping bill, like it doubled it. Every week it was like £80 instead of £40. And that's because I was buying, for the benefits of the tape, sounds like a police interview, we'll call it Late Watchers. I was buying Late Watchers biscuits, Late Watchers yogurts, Late Watchers ding meals, like microwave meals. Oh my goodness. And they were like chili con carne with potato wedges, spaghetti bolognese, lasagna. 3-minute ding meals that were only 4 points, which is actually nothing in the grand scheme of things. However, when I returned to looking, when I was more educated and I looked at the back, I don't think I could pronounce a single ingredient that was in those, apart from maybe a little bit of potato and probably a 2% minced beef in a chili con carne with wedges. But everything else was like man-made shit, processed shit. And my food bill was double. And when I actually think about how clever the marketing is, it blows my mind. So, I say about this in my group, I say about it in social media. I would buy Late Watchers digestive biscuits, and when you compare the points, a McVitie's digestive biscuits would be, one biscuit would be 3 points. A Weight Watchers digestive biscuit would be 1 point. However, the both biscuits pretty much have the same amount of calories in. So how do they work out the points? Because both of them have probably a 2-calorie difference, yet one's 3 points, one's 1 point. Well, from a business perspective, obviously it makes sense, because everybody who's on that plan is going to buy the Late Watchers digestives because it's less points. So the business makes more money. The points are different. Do you see what I'm saying? So when we talk about marketing in the group, I try and say to my girls, like, make sure you're reading nutritional values on labels, because sometimes that shit is just designed to make you spend more money. When I take other products like bread, for example, you can go into a supermarket and buy a normal loaf of bread for 80p. You can buy another loaf of bread that says it's high in protein for £1.20. Same amount of slices, same weight. But because that one loaf of bread has 1 gram more protein in it than the other, they feel they can charge you an extra 40p. It's bullshit, okay? It's just clever marketing. And slimming clubs do exactly the same thing. They will market their products to be lower in points, lower in sins, so that you obviously buy them over shop lines. But the calorie content is the same, and it's all designed to give you this thought process on food. My grandma, God rest her soul, used to say one thing, and it is so true. You can enjoy everything in moderation. And I'm going to leave that little nugget there for you. I would be so interested to hear any of your Slimming Club stories, or I would even love to hear the success stories, because I love seeing people lose weight and feel better and feel healthier. So whether you've got a story, good, bad, or ugly, I would love to hear it. If this podcast has resonated with you in any sort of way, I would also love to hear your comments. So please like this, subscribe if you are listening, share it if you are watching on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the Confessions of a Diet Queen podcast, and maybe give it a little screenshot and share it on your social media and tag Lean with Leanne, so that we can maybe help some other people that are struggling with their mindset if they're in slimming clubs, or anyone who needs help with any part of their weight loss journey. They can drop me a message. I hope this has been helpful and you've enjoyed listening to my story. So don't forget to follow me on social media, Lean with Leanne. And next week, I am going to be joined by a female coach, the female success coach. And we're going to be discussing all things about being a successful female in 2022. Thank you so much for listening, guys. And I will speak to you next week.